Today, we're diving deep into a really wild idea. What if sound is more than just, well, sound? What if it's a kind of secret science, a tool that can actually shape our minds and our reality? We're going to trace this idea from ancient texts all the way to modern brain scans. I mean, think about it for a second. That one song that always gives you chills, or the music that can make you feel completely on top of the world. What if there's more going on than just a catchy tune? What if it's actually tapping into a fundamental language that your brain, and maybe the whole universe, already understands? So, to really get this, we have to go way back. Our story starts with a kind of ancient blueprint for music that really laid the foundation for everything we're going to talk about. Meet the Brihadeshi. This isn't just some old, dusty book. It was written over 1,400 years ago, and it's one of the first times in history that anyone treated sound like a true science, creating a formal, organized structure for music. And this text was a total game changer. It was the very first to actually define what a raga is, that melodic structure that's at the heart of Indian music. It was the first to draw a line between classical and folk music, and it introduced sargam, the sa, re, ga notes that are still used to teach music all over the world today. It was basically a complete operating system for sound. But here's where it gets really interesting. This blueprint wasn't just about how to make music. It had a much, much deeper purpose. It leads us straight to something called the yoga of sound. And that is Nada Yoga. It's all built on this one absolutely profound idea that everything, and I mean everything in the universe, from distant stars to your own thoughts, is all just vibration. And if that's true, then sound isn't just something we hear with our ears. No, it's a way to literally connect with the fabric of reality itself. So Nada Yoga splits sound into two categories. You've got a hatha, or struck sound. That's everything you hear externally. Music, someone talking, a car horn. But then there's a nahata, the unstruck sound. This is the internal, silent vibration of your own being, what some people call the sound of silence, or the sound of the self. And that is the ultimate goal. Just listen to this from the Shurangama Sutra. The whole point isn't to just listen to the world outside, it's to turn your attention inward and learn to hear that unstruck sound, to literally listen to your own consciousness. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. Cosmic vibrations, the sound of the self, it all sounds pretty mystical, right? But what if we could actually see these effects happening? This is where we build a bridge from ancient philosophy to modern neuroscience. So that brings us to the big question. Can science today actually measure the impact of these ancient musical ideas on the human brain? And the answer, incredibly, is yes. A research paper from 2024 called Physics of Softaswaras did exactly that. Scientists took the 7 core notes of Indian classical music, the swaras, and used modern tools to see what they physically do inside our heads. So let's actually break this down note by note. The ancient texts gave us the structure, and now science is starting to decode what it all means for our brains. Here they are, the 7 notes, or saptaswaras. And you can see each one isn't just a sound, it's a very specific vibration, a precise frequency. And the research suggests that each and every one of these frequencies has a unique, measurable effect on our brain. Okay, let's start with sa at 240 hertz. What the research found is that this frequency seems to boost what they call functional connectivity. In simple terms, it helps different parts of your brain communicate with each other more efficiently. And that's directly linked to being able to learn things faster and better. All right, next up, Re at 270 hertz. Now, this one is really cool. It seems that this specific frequency lights up the right hemisphere of the brain. The side that we associate with creativity, with art, with innovative, outside-the-box thinking. It's almost like this note is a specific key turning a specific lock in your mind. So while every note has its own job to do, the research also found something else. A kind of foundational frequency that sits underneath a lot of these classical compositions, or rocks. And that frequency is 110 hertz. It's this deep, resonant tone, and it's the fundamental building block for many of those really deep, meditative rags. And its effects? They're pretty profound. This one frequency is a powerhouse. It's been shown to help people relax and process emotions. It enhances that right brain activity tied to creativity and spirituality. It might even stimulate parts of the brain affected by certain mental health conditions. And here's the kicker. Archaeologists think this exact same frequency was deliberately used in ancient ritual sites to put people into specific states of consciousness. It's like the ancients understood the physics of enlightenment without needing any of our modern gadgets. So let's just recap the journey we've been on. We started with that ancient blueprint, the Brihadishi, which gave music its structure. Then we looked at its spiritual goal with Nada Yoga and that search for the inner sound. And finally, we saw how modern science is actually starting to prove what these traditions seem to have known all along. And that really brings us back to where we started. It seems like both the ancient wisdom and the modern science are pointing to the exact same thing. Sound is an incredibly powerful key for unlocking the human mind. So the next time you're listening to a piece of music and you feel something, you get goosebumps, you feel a wave of emotion, just ask yourself, are you just hearing a song? Or are you hearing a frequency that's resonating with the deepest parts of who you are?